Hello, this is Chris Antozzi with Century 21 Gold here on Why Missing. And today I want to talk to you buyers. Now, buyers are starting to get frustrated in this market because there aren't a lot of homes out there. And if there are not a lot of homes, that means that prices are going to go up. So if you do find your dream home, it's probably going to be too expensive. Well, I'm here to tell you that that might not be the case. Before we get too far on the buyer side, let's talk about sellers. When sellers list their property, they go to their listing agent and say, hey, list my property for me. What do they actually want? They want to sell their home. Or their property. It might not be their home. They want to sell their property. Well, every month that it stays on the market, they have to pay mortgage and utility bills. It's not like those bills just float away. They have to pay those two things. So if you find a property that's been on the market for, say, 180 days, about half a year, that's 6 months of mortgage and utility bills that the sellers had to pay. And many of these sellers started with their price at whatever it happens to be on Zillow, and they never go down. Either their agent doesn't do their due diligence to get people's eyes on the property, or they're just being stubborn. The price doesn't go down, and so after 6 months, maybe they'd accept something a little lower. But before we get into that, buyers, when you start your search, the first thing you have to do is you have to get a pre-approval. You have to get a pre-approval from a bank. Me, as a buyer's agent, cannot give an offer to a seller without a pre-approval. You see, all that information that's on that pre-approval gets put on the offer sheet, and I have to have that on there when I hand it to the seller. It can't get around it. Okay, so get a pre-approval, and if you're worried about getting a pre-approval, it's going to have a hard inquiry on your credit report, and your credit score is going to go down a little bit. Maybe you should be thinking about, improving your credit a little bit before buying a house. Okay, if you think that that hard credit is going to push you down below the line to get an FHA loan, I think FHA is 580. Could be wrong. Uh, if you think that it's going to push you below 580, definitely work on your credit before buying a house. Um, anyway, the let's talk about the seller's price. Okay, you go on Zillow and you see the perfect house. It's in a great school district. The taxes are low and all that good stuff, but it's $200,000. That's out of your price range. Well, um, just because it's on Zillow for 200,000 doesn't mean that's what it's going to go for. Okay, that's what the seller wants. What the seller gets is almost always different. Okay, a lot of times the seller will get only about 95% of their selling price. So if they are selling their house for 200,000 and they're only going to get 95% of that, they're going to get $190,000 for that house. Now that's under the perfect circumstances. Sometimes you can go a lot lower than that. So say that this house has been on the market for 180 days, 6 months. That's 6 months worth of mortgage payments, 6 months worth of utilities. And let's just pretend that utilities and mortgage together is $2,000. That is $12,000 that these sellers are dishing out on a house that they're not using. So these sellers might be really motivated to get rid of their house, and maybe they haven't gotten an offer lately. Maybe they haven't gotten an offer at all. Maybe they're waiting for 6 months later to get that first offer and said, okay, whatever, let's just do it. So you have a pre-approval for $160,000. You see this $200,000 house that you want. Put in an offer for 150. Okay, then they can come back and counter. You have a little bit of wiggle room to get up to that $160,000 threshold. That is one way of getting into a house that is more expensive. Some sellers are just looking for an offer. And me as an agent, if you offer something, if we have the paperwork filled out, I must give it to the seller. I can't just say, I'm not doing this and just leave it in the car. I must give it to the seller. So even if it's for $1, I must give it to the seller for them to consider. Now, obviously, they're not going to sell their property for $1. You're going to want to make a legitimate offer. But sometimes you can really get quite a deal, especially if the house has been on the market for a long time. I've seen some houses on the market for 360 I saw one the other day that was on the market for 455 days. I bet you if they just got an offer, they would at least counter it. So go ahead and make that offer. I just want to throw that out there to see if I could help you guys out. Once again, my name is Chris Antozzi. I'm here with Century 21 Gold in Wyomissing. Visit antozzihomes.com, and that's my website. It's got whatever properties it may or may not be listing at the moment. It's got all my videos. It's got some tips on how to go about the home buying and home selling process. And you can call or text me 610-706-3211. And thank you for watching.